So this week you have to draw what you see on the screen. To arrive here, we pass through 4 steps. Step 1, I click here. Step 1, we draw lines using normal and polar coordinate system. And also we can draw it using options like orthogonal drawing. Also we can use object snap, and we explained these options in past lectures. So first step was to draw these lines, which representing a floor plan. Step 2, we try adding layers. So here we added dimension layer and text layer, and we develop styles for dimension and for text. For example, here you can see we have standard plus small text size, big text size. This is big text size. This is small text size. Same thing for dimension. We have small dimension size like this one and big dimension size like this. So this is the third step. And sure, we control layers, we added layers. In step 3, this is step 3 actually. Step 3, which is last week, you draw walls, and to arrive here, sure, we created layer for walls and layer for axes. Axes, this layer is representing the axis of wall. If I remove walls, text, so this line is the same as this one here. But here, starting from this line, we added walls. So we created those walls here. And we use some modify command like move, extend, and trim. If I remove axis, so this is walls. These walls are drawn last week. This week, you have to complete this drawing. And in this drawing, we have dimensions like this, continue dimension, this dimension, one beside each other on the same line. They are on the same line in this direction and in this direction. So you have to use continue dimension. Continue dimension, you find it in annotate tab, continue. This is the command continue dimension. And you have to use hatch command. These walls, you can see these walls, they are brick walls. These are masonry walls. So masonry and brick. We differentiate between brick and masonry wall. Actually, this drawing, you find it on Moodle. You can download this drawing and start from here to arrive here, to arrive to this drawing. So what I want to do now, I want to explain how we can come from this point here, from step 2 to step 3. So if I come back to step 2, I want to add continue dimension and hatch. So to add continue dimension, I have for inside, I want to use a small dimension style. For outside, I use big dimension style. Inside, I use small dimension style. So I make the current layer is dimension layer. So if I go to home, the current layer must be dimension layer. Now, if I add a dimension using this style, he asked me about the first point. I will say that this is the first point, this is the second point, and I will put the dimension here. So this is a normal dimension. Now I want to add other dimensions on the same line using continue dimension. I go to annotate, continue, I click on continue dimension. So when I click on continue dimension, he starts directly from the dimension I draw previously. So I click here, then I click here, 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 and here. Then enter to exit from command. So I draw dimension in this direction. This is continue dimension. I can do the same thing in the other direction. For example, I come back, I take dimension command, single dimension. I click on this point here, from this point to this point, and I put dimension here. Then I can click on continue dimension. It starts from the last point I arrived. So I click on this, click here, and here. Enter to exit from the command. So here I can see the continue dimension. I can control the position of this small dimension text by moving, clicking on the grid point, and I can put it anywhere I want. I put it here, for example. Same here, I can put it here. So I can control this position using grid point. Okay. Same for this also. So this is the command continue dimension. Now, when you add this dimension, your previous drawing may not respect these dimensions. Maybe it will be 4.3 or 4.1, I don't know. But you can correct your drawing. Your drawing must have this dimension exactly. So if this is not 2.2, 4.2, if I want to make it 4.3, for example, I can come select these element, then I use in modify column, modify tab, move command. If I click on move, he asks me about the base point. I click here. Then I will move it. If I make also effective, I move it 10 centimeters, 0.1 in this direction. So it is moved 10 centimeters. You can see the dimension is now is 4.3. If I want to come back, I do the same also. I can select this element, move or right click by the mouse using move command. I move from here to here. I come back to initial situation. So if your drawing has some error regarding internal dimension, you can modify it using modify command. You can move any element using modify command. Last week you use extend and trim. Also, I can explain rapidly how we can use extend and trim, which is, it was in step 2. For example, I have just line, I want to create walls. So how can I use, how I add wall, the first side and second side of wall using offset. If I click on offset command, this line now, I offset, create a new element from existing element. This line is here. It is in layer 0, for example. But for wall, I have to create a new layer for walls. Here I add a new layer, call it walls, I choose different color for walls, like this one, for example. Okay. So I created a new layer, which is wall. It is here. But now if I draw something, it will be in the current layer, which is dimension. No, I want to make the current layer is wall. I click on wall. Now the current layer is wall. If I click on offset, I have to control these options. If I click on layer, I have two choices: to draw the new element in the current layer or in the layer of original element, which is the line. The line is in layer 0. No, I want to create a new line in wall element. So in the current, I choose the option current. Now he asked me about offset distance, which is 10 centimeters, 0.1. Now I click on this line. I create another one using offset. Again, I click here. I draw another element. I click on this line, create a line here, another line here, also for this line. So I create walls using offset, enter. I create wall in a new layer, I call it walls. Now I have to correct this drawing using trim and extend, for example. If I use trim command, he asked me about cutting edge. So cutting edge, it will be this line, this line, this line, this line. Those are cutting edge. Enter. Now, element I want to cut this line here. I repeat, trim. Cutting edge is this one. This is the cutting edge. Enter. Now, the object I want to cut this line, this, enter. I want to cut this line from here. So I say trim, cutting edge. This is a cutting edge. This is a cutting edge for this line. Cutting edge, cutting edge. Now enter. I click here to delete this part. I click here to delete this part. Enter. So now, if I remove layer 0, if I hide it, okay. So the current layer is wall. I can see now walls are connected correctly to each other. So I do this for all elements. For this part of drawing, I can use a grip point directly to correct the connection between walls. Here, I can, if ortho is effective, make it effective. I extend this line this way, then this one. Then I can do this. So these connection between walls are correct. I complete this work till arriving to this drawing. So this drawing is available on Moodle. You can download it and draw continue dimension. If the dimension is not correct, you can move your existing element to make dimension correct as it is here. Now, the next command I want to use is hatch command. Hatch command exists in the list of draw tool. So this is the draw tab. This is hatch. When I click on hatch here, he asked me about to pick a point. Hatch is hatching a closed area. For example, if I pick point here, it will hatch this wall, which is brick wall, in this way. But I don't want the hatch to take this template, this shape. I make undo. I remove this hatch. I want to hatch a brick wall using this template. The distance between line here, this distance is 1 meter, which is too big. So in my drawing, I will make it 10 centimeter or 5 centimeter, 0.05, the distance. Then if I come and pick inside this closed area, it will be hatched in this way. But before hatching also, I say undo. Before hatching, I prefer to create a specific layer for hatch. So if I come here, there is no hatch layer. So I click on layer property to add a new layer. I add a new layer by clicking on property. So new layer, I call it hatch layer. Hatch. And I give this hatch layer a specific color, like this one, for example. Okay. Or this one. Okay. So now I created a new layer, but the current layer is dimension now. I make current layer is hatch. Now hatch is the current layer. Now I can draw the hatch element. I choose this. I make the dimension between lines 5 centimeters. Then I click in a closed area. It's hatched. Also, I want to hatch this part, which is also a brick. This part. This part, if I click here, it say it's not a closed area. So if I have this message, I can reduce a little bit the drawing, zoom it, and I click inside now. If I click here, he can see that it's a closed, so it's hatched. Also, I want to hatch this wall. So in this way, I hatched all brick wall. Enter to get out from the order. I can see that those are brick walls, they are hatched. But to hatch something, it has to be a closed area. So here they are closed. And also this part here are closed area, closed from this side to this side. So in this way, I draw, this is brick wall, which is different from masonry wall. If I want to hatch also masonry walls, as I see here, I can give hatch command, click on hatch command. Masonry, I will give it different hatch template. I click here. Then if I click inside these walls here, I can see they are hatched. Enter, I get out from this. So the hatch is done for walls, for masonry wall, and for brick wall with different template. Or I can remove this hatch. I keep the hatch just for brick wall. So please complete this drawing to arrive to this one. So add all this drawing is printed as PDF file and it is uploaded on Moodle. So you can see this drawing and try to arrive from this plan here to this plan by adding continue dimension and adding hatch command. If you have any question or if you have any problem which face you during your drawing, you can contact me through Moodle or through WhatsApp group. For students who are not able to follow us through this time, they can find a link on YouTube which contain recorded class. So they can watch it at any time they find the connection to the internet. I hope my class was clear and easy for you. This drawing, you have to do it today and send it by email. Just one point regarding hatch. If I click on hatch, I can see the template. I can define the distance between hatch here. Distance between these lines, I make it 0.055 centimeter. Also, I have setting here. So you will have, if you click on setting, you will have this window. To hatch any things in AutoCAD, you have two ways to select object. One, the first way is to pick a point inside a closed area. If I click here, he asks me to pick a point inside a closed area. I click here, for example. He hatch it, but the distance is 1 meter. Or if I say undo, setting again, I can select an object. If I have a closed object like circle or rectangular or polyline, so I can select it and hatch it. Here we have three options to hatch a specific boundary. If I choose this normal, he will hatch one closed area, the second will not be hatched, the third will be hatched, and so on. Here he hatched up the outside area of a closed object. Here he hatched everything inside. So you can see the difference between their option by your own, or so you can click on help button to have more clarification about this command here. But try to use this command, which is hatch, and to see the help to get more information related to hatch property. And if you have any question, I can answer you without any problem. So please try to do this drawing, complete it, and send it by email by today. Okay, as I told you here, I can close. This is the drawing you have to complete today. Okay. Thank you very much. And I hope see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.